Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry I lost my signal, so we're going to try this again. This is Lunch with Laura, and today is Q&A day. And I hope you've come ready with your questions. So sorry about that. I lost my signal, but we're going to persevere and push through today, okay? And so I was just sharing before we got disconnected. I was sharing about there being hey, I'd love to hear your comments if you have any questions. If you're watching live, this would be a wonderful time to go ahead and ask you questions about anything about dating, about divorce, about relationships, about guys and girls and blended families and kids, and what's the best way to deal with stepkids and all that good stuff. So be ready to ask your questions. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm ready to dive in. So while we're waiting, I just wanted to share with you, I had a powerful time this morning of just prayer and sharing with some good friends of mine. And one of the things that came out of that was there are so many people, especially in the body of Christ, who really feel like they feel stuck. They feel like there's this wall that they can't get over. They feel like, especially after the divorce, they feel like they've been stuck in this place and they're not sure how to get out of it. They don't know what to do to release themselves or to propel themselves over this wall or this mountain that just really seems to be standing in their way. And not only that, but a lot of times what's mixed into that is they see their ex prospering and always seem to have money to do X, Y, and Z, and and at the same time screaming poor that they can't do this and that for the kids. And they just really feeling a pace of frustration and anger, and a lot of times they don't know what to do with their feelings. And so we were just really talking about that and trying to pray through it and just to recenter our focus, not to worry about what the neighbors are doing down the street, not worrying about what our ex is doing. Yes, our ex needs to do what they're supposed to do to help take care of the kids and their other responsibilities. If they have things that they're supposed to pay off as a result of the divorce, yes, they need to do those things. I'm not saying that they're exempt at all. I'm just simply saying that it's really a time for us when we're feeling this way to really just center our focus on God and really ask for wisdom and guidance, and also to give us a sense of peace. Not everything is the way it seems. A lot of people put up this, smoke and mirrors and say everything's great. And I'm not wishing anything bad on anybody else. I'm certainly not doing that. But, there are some times where, things just aren't the way that they look. And you don't find that out sometimes until years later. And sometimes, you never find out. And that's okay. But I just want to just help you if this is resonating with you, if you really feel like this is where you are in your heart, especially since I was reading some weeks ago, there's statistics that say for working women, about 80% of working women live by themselves if they have kids after divorce. The first year or 2 years after the divorce, if you're a single mom, you're living by yourself, it's 80% of you. Very few of you have gone on and remarried within the first 2 years after divorce. But for our exes, it's I think it was about 70% had either remarried within the first 2 years or they were living with whoever was their romantic interest at that time. And so if you kind of look at the dynamics of that, we got single mom who usually have the kids full time, especially if you have more than one. She's by herself and trying to maintain the bills in the household, all that stuff, trying to maintain a household and take care of the kids. And then you've got your ex, your dad, who doesn't have the kids full time, but yet is sharing the expense with someone, either if he's remarried or with a girlfriend. Or sometimes too, they go back to live with family, but a lot of times it's the girlfriend or new wife. And you're like, wow, how did that happen? How'd we get here? And that, a lot of times at the same time he's screaming poor, he can't do this, he can't help out with, extra school stuff, extracurricular activities. You can't help pay for football or whatever it is that your kids really love, and that would really be an added benefit, above and beyond whatever they're obligated to pay for support. And sometimes you just really get to a place of anger and resentment. And, I hear you. I hear you. And so if that's resonating with you, if you want to leave a comment, if you want to ask a question, let me just say, for me, and for what I see other people, when I talk to other people, it is really your time is, really looking in and seeing, what can I do to change my circumstance? What can I do to focus on what's going to bring me further along and where I want to be, whether it's career, whether it's, whatever else helps to make you happy. If you're trying to figure out a way to do an extracurricular activity that makes you happy and how to finance that, all those things, what's going to raise your happiness meter? In my humble opinion, that's the better way to really focus the majority of your time if you're really dealing with, anger and what's going on with your ex, and, maybe just feeling a sense of loss and feeling left behind. If you really feel like you see your other friends and colleagues and coworkers, and they seem to be miles ahead of you. And a lot of times, too, I've had to be reminded of this morning. A lot of times, I call it a boomerang. I'm sorry, not boomerang. I call it, a boomerang effect. Sometimes you feel like you're being pulled backwards, but you feel that tension and that tension and that tension. I'm sorry, not boomerang, slingshot. That's what I meant to say. Slingshot. When you're holding slingshot in your hand, you pull it back, and you feel that tension, and you really feel like, oh my gosh, I can't take anymore. But yet, you're going to be propelled forward. You're going to be propelled forward quickly. And so I really want you to see this season of training and preparation. And a lot of times that's what it is. God is preparing us for, the blessings that He has for us in the future. And I really hope that you really hold on to that and use that as energy to focus on, yes, how can I get to where I need to be? Yes, if your ex is not doing what he needs to do, if you need to, follow up with that, however that looks, whether that's through the courts or otherwise, whether it's, sitting down and saying, hey, this is where you're supposed to be, this is where you're saying you can't do, how are we gonna bridge the gap here? However that pans out for you, whether you try to find an alternative solution outside of court, which is what I help folks do, or if you decide to go ahead and go to the Attorney General's office, whatever that is, spend the majority of your time focusing on what makes you happy, where you want to be, and how to get there. Even if it seems like your resources, you're just crushed on all sides, you're pressed on all sides, there is a way. There is a way. There is a way. And whenever I start to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't see how, this is going to happen. I don't see how that's going to happen. I always remember, what about Nick? And you're probably like, who's Nick? You've probably seen Nick. You just didn't know his name. If you go into just about any bookstore, whether it's Barnes & Nobles, or if you go to Amazon online and you type in Nick Vujicic, I know that name's unusual, but he's the gentleman who has no arms and no legs, but he goes around the world just preaching the gospel. He is a popular speaker on the speaking circuit, and again, he's the gentleman who has the full mustache and beard, but he has no arms and no legs, and he has such a powerful story. And whenever I start to feel like I can't, this can't happen, or I don't see how this is going to happen, I look at his life. I look at what he's doing. I look to see how God is using him. And I tell you the truth, I am encouraged. I get refreshed. I think his book is called without limbs or without limits. But he is such an inspiration. And so if I say, if God can use a gentleman who thought when he was a young man, I think he said he was 10 years old when he tried to commit suicide because he thought, who was ever going to want to marry me? What kind of life am I going to have? I'm never going to have kids. Even if I do get a girlfriend, I can't hug her. I don't have any arms. How's this going to work? To see how he is just a positive force and such just a person that I can just look at and say, okay, I can take another step. So even if you don't want to use Nick, if you even Google the guy with no arms and no legs, you'll see him. He'll pop up. His name is Nick Vujicic. His last name starts with a V as in Victor. If there's anybody who's in your life or anybody who's in the public eye who you say, oh my gosh, they have overcome so many odds. I don't care if it's Oprah, whoever it is for you. If that helps you to focus and center on taking another step towards what's going to make you happy, whether it's career or whatever that is, then do that. Yes, your ex needs to do what he needs to do. Yes. But, if you're a gentleman who's watching, yes, if the tables are turned, yes, your ex, your ex-wife needs to do what she needs to do, whatever that is. I would just encourage you to really stay focused on that and not allow, bitterness and jealousy and all the negative things to start to take root, because it's going to age you. It's going to affect your health eventually. And it is going to use up the valuable time that you have focusing on all the negative stuff as opposed to really focusing on what God wants you to focus on, which is your glorious future that he has for you. And he absolutely equips us to get us to where he wants us to be. He's not a God to give us all these promises and say, oh, well, I'm not going to give you what you need to get there. No. I just know from my own testimony, I just need to tap into what that is. I need to focus and listen to him. And so I'm really going to spend this weekend doing that. And I hope that encourages someone out there. Even if I just encouraged one person, just let me know. If you're watching live or if you're watching the tape version of this, I'd love to hear from you. And also, if you have other topics that you want me to tackle, if you have other ideas for other videos, I'd love to hear from you. So just go ahead and put it in the chat feature, and I'll be checking on it. And so, well, unfortunately, we don't have any questions today, but that's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much for you guys joining me for a little bit of your lunch. Enjoy the rest of your lunch. Have a fabulous weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Take care.